So this webinar today is Increase Website Engagement with Zoho One. Today I want to talk about increasing website engagement. Zoho One is our operating system for business. It basically contains all of the things that you would need to run a business. And this extends across marketing, sales, support, productivity and collaboration, finance, accounting, HR, all sorts of great stuff Zoho One can help us with. So in focusing on website engagement, we're kind of taking a very narrow sliver of what Zoho One can do. And we're doing that so I can actually go into the products and show you some of this stuff. There are a couple other webinars that are demo oriented that are going to be happening later this week. Tomorrow at the same time as this one, we are talking about going from lead to cash essentially. So how do you get a lead? How do you qualify them? How do you nurture them? How do you do the estimates, the invoicing, and actually get paid? That'll be a webinar tomorrow. And on Thursday, we're doing a webinar where we go from deal to delivery. So after you've made a deal and you've got the invoice, how do you actually deliver a product? How do you deliver services? How do you bill for those services? How do you integrate delivery with shipping carriers? All sorts of good stuff like that. So as you can see, this week, starting with something like website engagement, how do you make this an effective channel to bring in leads? And then the rest of these other sessions kind of follow behind that. So that's what we're doing today. So what will I be showing? I want to talk a bit about a few different things, and I've kind of grouped them up in such a way as to kind of organize them to show some of the flexibility we have here. So we'll talk a bit about how we can get kind of passive engagement on our website using forms. And there's a whole bunch of different kinds of forms that Zoho can help you with, whether that's contact forms or kind of complex order forms or doing gated content or email lists, all sorts of stuff. We'll talk about that. How do you engage actively with someone on the website? We have a live chat tool that allows you to talk to your website visitors and actually see how they're moving around your website and some other cool stuff. Of course, that's then spurned us developing the ability to offer you bots where you can actually have your own bots on your website to help with assisting customers. And last but not least, we'll then talk about how you can use tools from Zoho to improve your website with reports and running different kinds of tests, like A/B testing, for example. So this is going to cover maybe 7 or 8 different applications, and it will not go necessarily as deep as what all of these things can do, but it will give you a sense of how you can achieve these goals and how you can have a more engaging website. So hopefully that sounds good, because that is what we are going to do. So when we talk about getting kind of this passive engagement, there are different kinds of forms that we can use on our website for kind of different needs. So there's about 4 applications, I would say, that offer form functionality. The first one is Zoho Forms, and this is a tool that you use to make custom forms that you can add logic to, and that will then also be able to connect with different applications. So I'll show you an example of that on a demo website. But then there's also more specialized forms. So for example, Zoho CRM offers web forms. And these are ideal if you are trying to generate a lead, right? If you're trying to collect a lead and add it directly to the CRM, and you want to then, obviously structure the way you're following up so you can move that lead through the pipeline. So Zoho CRM, really good for any kind of time you need to add information directly to your CRM for your salespeople to follow up with, leads being a prime example. Now, when we're talking about mailing lists and trying to do some marketing automation, there's a few different ways we can go. We have Zoho Campaigns, which is our email marketing application. We have Zoho Marketing Hub, which is our more of a marketing automation product. And these applications are good for generating people for a mailing list, or to start putting them through kind of a nurturing cycle. Another thing that I'll say is that sometimes it makes sense to just bring a lead directly into Zoho CRM if we're managing leads there, and then we can sync that data over to Campaigns or over to Marketing Hub. So that's another way we can think about it. And there's a few instances in which actually it's preferable to do it that way, to just bring the data into CRM and then pass it over to Campaigns. So if you're interested in some of those scenarios, please ask me about them. This session is being recorded, and we will share it with you tomorrow once the video is all ready. And if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat, and I will respond to them at the end. I'll also share an email address where you can write for more questions and all sorts of stuff. But basically, getting back to the content, there are some examples where it makes sense to keep things in Zoho CRM, bring things in through a form there. Last but not least, we have Zoho Creator. And Zoho Creator is a really powerful, really sophisticated tool that allows you to build custom applications that allow you to use, complex forms with all sorts of logic in it. You can use scripts that allow you to do some really nifty things. And generally, Creator is when you bring in Creator because you're trying to do something sophisticated that Zoho Forms and Zoho CRM aren't really able to handle, and you also want that data to be put into your custom application, so kind of its own little database is what you're going for. So these, generally speaking, are the forms that you're going to use when you are adding forms to your website to get some kind of passive engagement. So let's go ahead and hop over to Zoho One. As I said, I want to spend a lot of time actually showing some of these products to you. This is the launcher screen in Zoho One. So once you go in and turn on the applications that you want to use and you assign them to different users or employees in your organization, these will appear on each individual user's launcher screen. I have a whole bunch of applications here because this is my demo account, and I always am kind of showing a whole bunch of different things. So maybe you would have as many applications turned on, maybe you'd only have a few. It really just depends on what you're doing. So this is Zoho One, and this is our demo website. So the name of this demo company is Out of Line Design. And Out of Line Design is a design agency. So when we look at their website, there's some different things that we'll notice, right? They have a little slider up here. They talk about one of their featured services, which is product design. They have some additional services, which is interior design, logo design, web design, a little testimonial section. And then your first form, which is relevant to what we're talking about, is talking about a newsletter. So what kind of form is this, you might be wondering. This form right here is basically a form that's connecting to Zoho Campaigns. So we can add people to a mailing list. And adding this to our website was really easy because this website is built on Zoho Sites, which is our drag and drop website builder. So it was really easy to do this because we're using all Zoho products. But the thing I want to say right now is that everything I'm going to show you over the next 40 minutes or so can be added to any website. So Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, a custom built website that you hired a developer to do for you, all of this stuff can be added to any website. And since you are talking to a Zoho guy, I did use Zoho Sites to build this stuff, but you can do this on your own site as well. Even things like Shopify, for example, you can add some of this stuff to. As long as you're able to embed some kind of custom code, then you can add this. So subscribing to a newsletter, pretty straightforward. We're adding a name and we're adding an email address. From there, we are then sending this to our newsletter. So let's start there. We'll go ahead and go into Zoho Campaigns, and I will kind of show you a little bit of kind of what that looks like. Well, actually, I'm sorry, it'll be Marketing Hub is where we're going to go because we upgraded our account to Marketing Hub. But basically, we'll be able to go in and see our list. So these are a bunch of different lists that we have in Marketing Hub. And this list right here, called In the Loop, is the list that connects to the website. So as people fill out that form, they will get automatically added to this list. And from here, we're able to break those people down into segments and start sending them emails. And when we are sending them emails, there are a bunch of different types of emails that we can send. So we can send just standard campaigns. We can automatically send out emails as soon as they join the list. So that can be really good if you want to use the form as a way to promise some information, right? So you're saying, hey, join my emailing list and I'll send you this ebook or something like that. So you can have that kind of an offer available. And you can do all of that through Campaigns and Marketing Hub. Now, there's a bunch of content on the web and on the Zoho website that talks about Campaigns and Marketing Hub. So if you're interested in learning more about this product, you can do that. I mean, there's a whole bunch of really cool things in here, including, building out journeys for different people, for sending out different kinds of campaigns, or for emails or what have you. So a whole bunch of stuff that you can do in there. So that is this kind of first way that on this website, we could engage with someone through a form, is having this ability to do this newsletter right there. So what are some of the other ways we can do forms? There is, for example, a contact form. So this is a little hire us form, and ultimately it's pretty straightforward. It's asking for a first name, a last name, an email, a company name, a phone number, and some comments, right? So we can fill out this form, and I believe this will add the lead to CRM, right? As you can see, there's a little mandatory asterisk. This little red item here basically says that this needs to be filled out for this to be submitted. So this is minimum information needed to create a lead. Of course, you could also mandate that the email need to be filled out, that the phone number need to be filled out, all sorts of stuff. So this is just a very basic contact form. And this, again, I believe has been made with Zoho CRM's web form. But what if we want to do something a little more sophisticated? Well, here is a form that I recently added to our website using Zoho Forms. And what we're doing here is basically having some gated content, right? So what we can offer here is, hey, fill out this form, and then we will give you this case study booklet. And that will have a bunch of information about clients that we've worked for, what they had to say about us. We'll be able to give you more specific information about how long projects took and what went well with the project and all sorts of stuff like that. We can promise that information. So basically what we'll do is go ahead and just fill this out, and I'll show you how this works, right? So Dan here has filled out the form, and he hits submit, and you get a little piece of information or a little confirmation. Thanks for filling out the form. We'll send you the case study booklet shortly. So what we would do here is, after this person filled out the form, we're going to collect that record in the CRM, right, which is where we put all of our leads. And then we could have a workflow in our CRM automatically send out an email that has a link to that booklet or has a PDF attachment. We could do the PDF attachment through Campaigns, for example, to make sure that that would get sent out. So we'd be able to make sure this gets sent out. Another thing we could do is use the forum and have the forum redirect us to a new page. And that new page could be a hidden URL or a hidden address that's not available on your website, that would have a link, or that would give you the ability to then download that PDF from that web page, right? So that's another thing we could do using the Zoho form, right? So first, let's go look at that form in Zoho Forms. We'll go ahead and open this. And you can see we have some different forms that we've created here in Zoho Forms. And this is, of course, what the form looks like, in which we've just embedded on our website. So it's the same form that we're talking about. And this is also why I said that you can use this anywhere you want, right? So we can see the entries, we can see the different people that have submitted it. So there's Dan, for example, who has just submitted this information. That's sitting in Forms, but it's also been passed over to CRM as well. And we can look at different reports and see all sorts of other kinds of nifty information. But we can also just create forms really easily. So I'll show you how simple that is. So let's say this is going to be the new form. And we're starting from scratch, but we can also use a template. And creating a form is of course super simple. All we have to do is just drag and drop different fields onto this. So for example, we want a name field, and it automatically separates first and last name for us, which is really nice. We can decide to set the validation as mandatory. So this is something that has to be filled out. We can add a phone number field. We can add an email field. And we can add a single line field for any additional information that we might want to know. So for example, like industry, we could use that for that. We can add instructions to our form. We can do all sorts of cool things. Let's save. And then we can set some different rules. So for example, if the name field, or say like, if the industry is automotive, then what we can do is show them like an additional field, for example. Obviously I haven't added that, but we'd be able to do something like that. Or we can add different pages, or we can create different rules for the form. So for example, once someone fills out the form, we can then send them an email, or we can redirect them to a new website or something. Like I said, right, that would be the way you could send out the content that you promised, for example, or it would be a way that you can direct them to the new web page. So all of that stuff is possible with Zoho Forms. So we'll go ahead and leave this now, and I want to again just hop into CRM real quick to show you that the integration does indeed work. So we're going into leads, and we see here's that example, right? So Dan has been added to the record here. And you see here's his email address and his company name, and all of that stuff has been added. So that's the integration there at work. Another really good way that we can passively engage with people on our website, right? Now, the last thing I haven't shown you is the creator form, right? Which is a custom form that allows us to get and be able to do a lot more kind of interesting and complicated things. So for example, logo printing. This is a design company that does logo design, but then they'll print their logo onto a t-shirt. Well, ideally, if we're going to have a form for that, it's going to be a bit more of a complicated process. So the first thing we'll ask is we can have them upload a file of their logo. We can ask them what color shirt do they want it on. And when they click that, we can actually show them a color of what that shirt actually looks like. We can say, how many do you need? We can ask them when do they need the items by. And if you see here, what I said is I want the item by tomorrow. Well, that is a validation problem for us that we've built into this form. So we have this little message that says, actually, we need a deadline that's at least 5 days out, because that's the kind of turnaround that we need to be able to actually do this. So now, we can go and make sure we pick an appropriate date. And you see that little circle, it means that we checked, that should be fine. And again, we can add another email here and all that good stuff, right? And then submit our request. Seems that there's been an error there, but either way, you get the idea that this has been submitted, right? So this is a more complicated form. And again, something like Creator would be very helpful for doing that. But what if we want to engage with our website visitors in a more active way, right? What if we want to be more active and we want to actually be able to talk to them as they're on our website and actually see what they're doing? Well, to do that, we will use Sales IQ. And one thing you may have noticed is this little chat box that's been following us around. And this is actually what we're going to use to allow people to reach out to us and chat with us. We can also start chats from our side. Currently, we're offline, so it just says to leave a message, and we can then follow up with the person who's come to the website. So let's go ahead and open up Sales IQ. And we will actually be able to, give you a little demo of this. So the first thing we have here are these rings. And these rings are organizing website visitors depending on how long they have been on the website. So this person, it says, has been on the website for 20 seconds. They're coming to us from the US. And this ring that they're on is for someone who's been on the site more than 0 minutes. So a very fancy way of saying they just got here. But this ring is for people who have been on the site for more than a minute. I believe this is 5 minutes and this is 10 minutes. So once this person gets to a minute, they'll actually move up on the area. So when we open this or click on this person, we can get some more information. We see that they're a new visitor. We see that they're direct traffic, so they typed in our web address directly into the address bar and came there. They didn't come through Google or Facebook or anything. If they did, we would know that. It would say that here. They're coming to us from Pleasanton, California, and this is not a surprise to me because the person is actually sitting next to me in this office right now, being my helper. And we see that they're using a Apple computer and Chrome browser, all sorts of cool stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and reach out to them and use a little canned message, which we can use just to speed up our communication here. So I've sent them a message and they will then reply. And when they reply, we'll be able to kind of get into this a bit further. if you notice, we'll be able to track the way they're moving across the website and stuff, but we don't really know anything about them yet. And the reason is because we haven't been given that information yet. So once this user gives us their name and their email address and stuff, then we'll actually be able to know who this user is almost forever until they like clear their cache or whatever, and we'll be able to add them to our CRM as well. So ultimately we'd be able to do all of that stuff, and so I can say, what's your email address, for example, although they don't seem to have given it to us yet. But once they give us that email address, what we can actually do is just hover over this. And if you look in the top right where it says visitor info currently, you'll see this get updated. And so now we have their email address. And we can ask, what's your name? And all of this stuff could have been supplied already had we just done this a little bit different. And we can, basically just hover over this information and update this as well, right? So we'll be able to update all of this information very easily, and be able to have this whole conversation. As you can see, we'll be able to push this information to CRM. We can even add this as a ticket using Zoho Desk, right? So all of this stuff that we're doing here, where we're able to actively engage with a customer, will let us push that to the CRM, will let us push that to these other systems that we'll be using. Now, one thing that's also really cool is, for example, say I know her company, and we'll say this is Samantha's company is the name of that. And say we learn her phone number, which is say 209-555-6789, and we'll go ahead and just hit add lead. All of this stuff we can do automatically when we set it up that way. Is that we've collected all this information as a lead. So let's go ahead and go back to CRM and see that information get added. So here is Samantha, right? Obviously we didn't update her name, but there was her email address and all that, and we can fix all this as we want. And we could follow up and everything. But as you can see, we've already pushed information that we've learned from Sales IQ. So for example, the location of this person was in Pleasanton, and now that's automatically in the CRM. There's a score that we're generating, and that score is based on the visit. And so after we end this chat and after the system is given a couple minutes, we'll be able to see now a record of that visit. How long were they on the website? What was the first page they visited? The date of their first visit we'll always have now, and we'll be able to go on. Also, once we end the chat, we'll have a transcript of the chat as well, which will get added as a PDF attachment. So all of this is stuff we can do with Sales IQ. And one thing that is good to know is that Sales IQ, the ability to do the tracking and the ability to do basically this thing where we're able to pull in this information, this is something we can actually do by integrating it with our forms even. So in CRM, we can go into our customization area and actually create a web form. Here's our Hire Us web form that we had before. And when we create our web form here, just to kind of jump back to this, it's the same kind of idea of adding this different information that we want to capture and hitting next. And once we do this, though, we can enable the visitor tracking for Sales IQ. And so there's our out of line tracking. So now basically once we get this form completed and the way we want it, we can add it to our website. And now whenever someone fills out the form, we will get all of the visit information that is powered by Sales IQ added to the customer record. So again, the forms are kind of a passive way of doing it, but I wanted to introduce Sales IQ first before mentioning this visitor tracking thing where we can bring in additional information, right? So that is this ability to actually chat and to actually do some of this visitor tracking. But what about chat bots, right? I know that generally when I talk to customers about Sales IQ, they're always like, oh, wow, that visitor tracking is cool. And I like that I can integrate that with the form, but I don't always, I'm not always available to be online, or I don't want my salespeople doing that. I don't want people spending all the time chatting with people. And when they say that, I think I understand that. There is a mobile app available for Sales IQ, so you can get those chats whenever you want. And you can even use this as like a messaging service where it's just another way for people to try to leave a message with you and generate a lead. But another thing we can do is actually create a chatbot. And so for this chatbot, I want to show you a different demo company that we have here, which is called Leave IT to Us, and it's an IT services company. So what I want to show you is basically how you can build a bot, or what a bot can do for you to kind of help assist your customers, right, without having to kind of take up that labor power. So someone comes to the website and maybe wants to learn about a service. So you can say, tell me about the services you offer. And it says, here's some stuff we can do. Click on one. So let's see, security. And, we give a little quick information about security. What about network management, right? We can get information about that. You can then say, what else can you help me with? And we say, well, can I book a consultation? And it says, sure, I guess I can do that. So we can pick a date and a time, and then confirm that. And then the bot needs to just know some of our information and now just want some of that. So what we can do is just say, I am Wilson Example at wilsonexample@example.com. Phone number and company name, Wilson Co. And it says, great, consultation is booked for Monday, December 9th. And we can say, nope, I don't need anything else. And I can go ahead and just end this chat. I can rate it and say, great bot, right? And hit submit, right? I can give the customer, or the customer can then get an email transcript of this so they have a record of the conversation in case they're worried that the bot didn't do its job or something like that. So there we go. The bot has actually just done a really big job for us, which is educating the customer with some basic information and then actually being able to schedule a time to call them back or to set up that consultation, right? So that saves a lot of time. It's not the smartest bot where it's dynamically figuring out what's the best answer for this thing. It's a very structured conversation that we've created, but it could save us a lot of time. So let's go ahead and go back into the CRM, for example, and go to leads, or contacts for that matter. And it seems that it has not been added. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. The reason it hasn't been added is because I'm in the wrong CRM. That's why. Sorry about that. Let me just hop into CRM real quick. I was checking the out of line CRM rather than the Leave IT to Us. I knew that was going to come back for me. So now we're in the lead, the correct CRM, and there's Wilson right there, right? So you see Wilson Example, Wilson Co, Wilson at example.com, his phone number, the lead source is the chatbot. When we go in, we see that the open activity is the consultation, which is for 9 o'clock on December 9th. which is what we said. So all of that stuff has been done and added to the CRM thanks to our trusty chatbot. So again, that's an example of like, how can we use Zoho tools to actively engage with people on our website? Now, the next piece of this is, how do we use Zoho tools to give us reports and to help us test our website to make it even better? And for that, we're going to use Zoho PageSense. And PageSense is something that's going to be really helpful for doing a whole bunch of really cool things. Now, maybe some of us are already using a web analytics tool like Google Analytics. And if you are, that's great. Google Analytics is a great tool. But one of the things about it is that it's not a particularly visual tool. It gives you a lot of data, but it doesn't necessarily help you visualize a lot of this stuff. And it doesn't really give you any way to then run tests or anything like that. So I think that Google Analytics is a great tool to keep using, and PageSense is another great tool to then add to kind of your marketing toolkit, so to speak. So we're going to go ahead and close these windows here and hop into PageSense. And I'm just trying to find it here. Where did we put this guy? There we go. So we can also just find it that way. And once we open PageSense, we will open the projects that we're working on for our website. And from here, we can actually start looking at some really cool stuff. So the first thing is we can look at a heat map. And this heat map for our homepage can show us a lot of really great information. So the first thing we see is that our website is actually loaded up into PageSense, so we can really see what our website actually looks like. On the right, we have some different statistics. So for example, 313 unique visitors have done 861 visitors. We can see what kind of engagement we're getting. How many clicks do we get per visit? How many clicks have we gotten total? And then what items are actually the most clicked things on this page, right? All of that is here on the right. But if we look at these weird little like weather Doppler things, you know, these little rainbow heat mappy things, it actually shows where the clicks are going. So for example, we have 60 clicks on the payment portal, 67 on the contact us button, 33 on the services button, which then leads to more clicks down here. So people are kind of mainly going to these three areas. We see that people are clicking this button. So we're seeing all of this different information. Now, what's really cool is that we can even split this up by different device. So this is all relevant to the desktop, but we can also click mobile, and it'll show us what the mobile version of our site looks like, and then shows us where the clicks are at on the mobile site. So that's really nifty. We can break this down by different durations. So last 30 days, the entire time we've been running this, yesterday, whatever. We can segment the audience and say, show me only new visitors. And when we click new visitors, you'll see on the right over here, this information will update. So I'll click new and hit apply. And the information has changed. So we can actually get a sense of what people are doing for this particular audience. And we can stack a bunch of these criteria up to make a very particular kind of segment as well. So this is the heat map. And again, showing us some stuff that we might be able to see on a Google Analytics report, but actually helping us visualize it and making it easier for us to understand what we're looking at. Here is another report, which is called the scroll map. And the scroll map basically shows how far people are making it down your web page. So for example, 100% of people who have visited this page have seen this part of the page. And I mean, there should be no there's really a really good reason for that, which is that Excuse me. The reason for that, of course, is that anytime you come to this page, you have to see this part of the page, right? So when we start scrolling, we see this is actually the average fold for our website, which is to say that generally speaking, on average, people see this much of the website when they land on it. But as we scroll down, we see some very crushing realizations that this very nice testimonial section only gets seen by about 26% of our visitors. And even worse, this subscription, newsletter subscription form only gets about 24%. So less than a quarter of our visitors actually ever make it this far down the page, right? So this report really helpful for letting us see where our